happens when you give filmmakers unlimited budgets and a license to destroy entire cities. You get the most internet-melting monster brawls ever put to screen. From atomic lizards to mechanical titans, we're counting down the top 25 giant monster movie fights that broke the internet. Kicking things off with pure chaos, Rampage delivered exactly what it promised. A giant albino gorilla, a mutated wolf, and a massive crocodile tearing through Chicago like it's made of Lego. Based on the classic arcade games, this three-way throwdown had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson trying to save his supersized buddy George, while two other lab experiment disasters were busy redecorating the Windy City. The visual effects team went absolutely wild here.
Man, you ugly son of a
with buildings crumbling in terrifyingly realistic ways and debris flying everywhere. What makes this fight memorable is how the movie embraced its video game roots. There's something wonderfully ridiculous about watching a flying wolf tackling a gorilla off a skyscraper, while a crocodile uses its tail like a wrecking ball. The internet loved how unabashedly fun this was, with no pretensions about being anything other than a love letter to B-movie monster mayhem. Sure, the plot was thinner than paper, but nobody bought a ticket to Rampage for Shakespearean dialogue now, did they? They came to watch giant animals wreck stuff, and boy did this one deliver.
You mess with my friend, you mess with me, mother.
Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim was basically a love letter to kaiju films and mecha anime, and the Gypsy Danger vs. Leatherback brawl in Hong Kong showcases why this movie became an instant cult classic. Leatherback is this absolute unit of a kaiju, built like a gorilla mixed with a tank, covered in bioluminescent blue highlights and packing an electromagnetic pulse ability that shuts down Jaegers. The fight is brutal and tactical, with Gypsy Danger getting its tech knocked offline and having to go completely analog, relying on nuclear power and pure mechanical force. What's brilliant here is how Del Toro makes you feel the weight of every punch. These aren't nimble fighters, they're walking skyscrapers trading haymakers. The moment Gypsy Danger activates its plasma cannon and goes full melee mode had theaters erupting. Del Toro's attention to detail shines through in how the Jaeger moves, the way it interacts with the environment, and how the pilots inside physically mirror the robot's movements. The practical effects mixed with CGI created something that felt tangible and real, which is why this fight still holds up over a decade later. Before Kong could throw down with the big G in Hong Kong, he had to deal with these nightmare-fueled serpents called Warbats in the Hollow Earth. These things are basically massive flying snakes with wings and an attitude problem, and they ambushed Kong in pairs while he was exploring this upside-down prehistoric ecosystem. The fight is intense because Kong's actually in serious danger. One Warbat wraps around him while the other goes for the kill, and you can see him struggling against their combined weight and constriction. What makes this sequence pop is the setting. The Hollow Earth environment is this gorgeous, gravity-defying wonderland with floating mountains and bioluminescent flora, creating this surreal backdrop for the brawl. Kong's intelligence really shines through as he uses the environment to his advantage, slamming the creatures into rock formations and eventually ripping one's head clean off in a visceral display of primal fury. The CGI work on the Warbats is stellar. They move with this unsettling fluidity that makes them feel genuinely alien and threatening. This fight proved that Kong could hold his own movie moment even in a film he was sharing with Godzilla. The Jurassic franchise has always been about the T-Rex, so Dominion threw us a curveball by introducing an even bigger carnivore, the Gigantosaurus. This wasn't just any fight, this was a changing of the guard, with the Giga establishing dominance over Rexy in a brutal opening sequence set 65 million years ago. The Gigantosaurus is portrayed as a straight-up serial killer dinosaur, bigger and more aggressive than the T-Rex, and their clash is uncomfortably one-sided. What makes this moment impactful is how personal it feels. We've followed Rexy since 1993, and seeing any T-Rex take a beating from this new threat sets up stakes for the modern-day finale. The prehistoric setting is gorgeously rendered, with volcanic ash and dying dinosaurs creating this apocalyptic atmosphere. The fight choreography captures the raw, animalistic nature of these predators. No fancy moves, just pure bite force and tonnage colliding. Say what you will about Pacific Rim Uprising not quite capturing the magic of the original, but the finale where the three kaiju merge into one absolutely massive mega kaiju delivered some spectacular destruction. This thing was a Category 6 monstrosity, combining the abilities of three separate kaiju into one nearly unstoppable killing machine. The remaining Jaegers, Gypsy Avenger, Bracer Phoenix, and Saber Athena had to coordinate their attacks like a boss fight in a video game. The scale of this battle is insane, with the Mega Kaiju towering over even the largest Jaegers, and the fight choreography emphasizes how outmatched the human side is. Saber Athena gets absolutely wrecked in seconds, showing just how dangerous this fusion monster is. The urban destruction is off the charts, with entire city blocks being leveled in moments. While the film doesn't quite have Del Toro's artistic touch, the sheer spectacle of watching this Godzilla-sized threat rampage through a futuristic cityscape while giant robots try desperately to stop it make for compelling viewing. The finale, involving rocket boosters and a volcanic sacrifice, is wonderfully over the top in the best way possible. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, understood the assignment when it came to delivering epic monster fights, and the Antarctica showdown between Godzilla and King Ghidorah is a masterclass in mythic scale combat. This isn't just a fight, it's the return of an ancient rivalry, with Ghidorah frozen in ice for who knows how long, suddenly breaking free and immediately going after Godzilla. The setting is absolutely perfect. A frozen wasteland with a secret monarch facility, creating this isolated arena where these titans can cut loose. Ghidorah's entrance is terrifying. This three-headed alien dragon emerging from the ice with lightning crackling across its golden scales. Each head having its own personality. The fight is fast and vicious, with Ghidorah's gravity beams carving through ice and Godzilla's atomic breath creating massive steam explosions. What makes this confrontation special is how the film treats these creatures as forces of nature. They're not just animals or monsters, they're living gods engaged in a battle that humans can barely comprehend. The cinematography is gorgeous, with the storm that Ghidorah generates creating this apocalyptic atmosphere. This fight set the stage for their rivalry throughout the film and established Ghidorah as a legitimate world-ending threat. Before we continue, I've got a great website for you anime fans out there. The Cinema Treasures has an insane amount of collectibles on their website, with popular anime like Naruto, Attack on Titan, and Dragon Ball under their roster. Trust me, when I ordered the Goku variant of their Dragon Ball Z 3D LED light box,
My Bulma!
the aura just wouldn't stop flowing out of my room. If you're more of the Eren Yeager type of MC, then you can also check out their Attack on Titan figures, featuring the Attack Titan as its most popular seller. This is just a sample of all the products that are on offer at the Cinema Treasure, and if you happen to like comic book characters too, then I've got a surprise for you. They also have premium collections from Marvel and DC that will blow your minds away. So what are you waiting for? Check out the link in the description now and use the code TVRegent10 for 10% off their products. After 14 years away, the Jurassic franchise came roaring back with a climax that gave fans everything they didn't know they needed. Rexy and a velociraptor teaming up to take down a hybrid monster. The Indominus Rex had spent the entire film being an unstoppable killing machine, outsmarting humans and slaughtering everything in its path, so when Claire releases the T-Rex from her paddock, you know things are about to get real. The Main Street Showdown is perfectly choreographed, with Blue's speed and agility complementing Rexy's raw power. The Indominus is larger and has combat advantages. After all, those genetic modifications weren't just for show, but what it doesn't have is the experience and teamwork of two natural predators working together. The moment Blue runs alongside Rexy in slow motion became an instant classic, spawning thousands of memes and reaction videos. Then, in true Jurassic fashion, the Mosasaurus explodes from its lagoon to drag the Indominus underwater in a finale that had audiences cheering. This fight worked because it honored the franchise's legacy while delivering something fresh, proving that sometimes the old guard still has plenty of bite left. Before they could settle things on land, Godzilla and Kong had their first proper confrontation in the ocean, and it was absolutely brutal for Kong. This fight is unique because it takes place mostly in and around water, Godzilla's natural element, which immediately gives him the advantage. Kong is essentially trapped on aircraft carriers as Godzilla circles him like a prehistoric shark, and the power imbalance is terrifying. When Godzilla finally attacks, he pulls Kong underwater repeatedly, and you realize just how out of his element Kong is. The sequence is shot with this horror movie aesthetic, with Godzilla's dorsal plates glowing beneath the waves before he strikes, creating genuine tension. Kong fights desperately, but he's drowning and risking atomic breath blasts at point-blank range. What makes this fight memorable is how one-sided it is. This isn't a heroic clash, it's a territorial predator eliminating a threat. The human element adds to the chaos, with the Navy scrambling to save Kong while trying not to get killed in the crossfire. The visual effects are stunning, especially the underwater shots where you see these two titans grappling in the deep blue, surrounded by scattered debris and naval vessels. The finale of the Jurassic World trilogy brought Rexy and the Therizinosaurus for a showdown against the Gigantosaurus in the Biosyn Valley. This wasn't just a random fight, it was redemption for Rexy after getting dominated by the Giga earlier. What elevates this fight is the addition of the Therizinosaurus, this bizarre looking dinosaur with massive claws that looks more like a kaiju than a real dinosaur. When they converge on the Giga, it becomes this perfectly choreographed the killing blow, a coordinated attack that ends with the Therizinosaurus' claws in Rexy's jaws, gave fans the victorious T-Rex moment that they'd been waiting for. It's fan service done right, delivering emotional payoff while showcasing spectacular creature effects. Sometimes the best monster fights come from heroes fighting themselves, and the Hulk vs Hulkbuster showdown is pure destructive bliss. Scarlet Witch puts Hulk under a spell, sending him on a rampage through a populated city, forcing Tony Stark to deploy the Hulkbuster armor.
Everybody stand down.
Essentially, Iron Man on steroids, specifically designed to go toe-to-toe with the Green Goliath. What makes this fight spectacular is the sheer scale of destruction. Buildings are used as weapons, streets crack under their weight, and an entire city block gets leveled. The fight choreography is incredibly creative, with Tony using construction equipment and even an elevator as improvised weapons. The Hulkbuster constantly takes damage and calls for replacement parts mid-fight, creating this sense that even with prep time and specialized armor, stopping the Hulk is nearly impossible. The emotional weight adds depth. Tony is desperately trying to subdue his friend without killing him, while minimizing civilian casualties, and you can hear the strain in his voice as the fight drags on. The finale, where Tony drops an entire building on Hulk, is both jaw-dropping and darkly comedic.
I'm sorry.
Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy did have its critics, but nobody can deny the absolute insanity of the stone giant sequence. As Bilbo and the dwarves traverse a mountain pass during a thunderstorm, they discover that the mountains themselves are alive, massive stone giants engaging in some kind of ancient territorial battle. These aren't monsters in the traditional sense, they're living geography, blending seamlessly with the mountainside until they suddenly animate and start hurling massive boulders at each other. The scale is incomprehensible, with each giant being taller than skyscrapers and our heroes just ants trying to avoid being crushed. What makes this sequence unforgettable is the sheer audacity of it. Jackson took a brief mention from Tolkien's book and expanded it into this spectacular set piece that feels both fantastical and terrifying. The cinematography emphasizes the helplessness of the characters, with sweeping shots showing just how insignificant they are against these geological titans. Meg 2 said, "Forget logic, let's just make everything bigger and crazier." And the result was a prehistoric Megalodon fighting a giant Kraken in the deep ocean. This sequence is pure B-movie bliss, embracing the ridiculousness of the premise and running with it. The Kraken emerges from the deepest parts of the trench, this massive cephalopod with tentacles thick enough to crush submarines, and it immediately targets our heroes before the Meg shows up to turn this into a three-way battle. What makes this fight entertaining is how it leans into the creature feature chaos. There's no scientific accuracy or grounded realism here, just giant prehistoric animals battling it out in the abyss. The bioluminescent lighting in the deep ocean creates this alien atmosphere where these creatures feel right at home. Jason Statham and the crew are essentially caught in the crossfire, trying to survive while two apex predators from different eras duke it out around them. The CGI quality is surprisingly solid for what's essentially a direct-to-streaming sequel, with the creatures having real weight and presence. When the Meg actually bites through the Kraken's tentacles, there's a visceral satisfaction to it. This fight knows exactly what it is: dumb fun with massive budgets, and it delivers without apology. Yes, giant robots can be giant monsters, and the forest fight in Revenge of the Fallen is an absolute masterpiece of action choreography. Optimus Prime takes on 3 Decepticons simultaneously in a desperate battle to protect Sam, and it's 2 minutes of pure adrenaline-fueled chaos. What makes this fight legendary is how Bay shoots it. Instead of the usual quick cuts, we get longer takes to let you actually follow the action as Prime uses every weapon in his arsenal. The combination of Starscream's attacks, Megatron's raw power, and Grinder's size create a legitimate 3-on-1 threat that pushes Prime to its absolute limit. The forest setting is perfect, with trees being shredded like toothpicks and sunlight breaking through the canopy to illuminate the carnage. The sound design is phenomenal. Every transformation, every clash of metal, every explosion feels weighty and impactful. The moment Prime rips Grinder's face off, but then Megatron's killing blow delivers genuine emotional impact, making this not just a great action scene, but a pivotal story moment. This fight set a new standard for CGI combat and showed what was possible when cutting-edge technology met blockbuster budgets. The sky battle between Rodan and King Ghidorah in King of the Monsters is pure aerial chaos and one of the film's most visually stunning sequences. Rodan, basically a giant pterodon made of living lava, emerges from a volcano and immediately starts causing havoc with his sonic booms and heat waves. When he meets Ghidorah, we get this incredible dogfight between two flying titans. The cinematography is gorgeous. With Rodan's molten glow contrasting against Ghidorah's golden scales and the stormy sky. Ghidorah fights with all three heads independently, making him nearly impossible for Rodan to outmaneuver. The fight showcases Rodan's aerial superiority and speed against Ghidorah's raw power and regenerative abilities. What makes this battle impactful is how it ends. Rodan can't hold his own as Ghidorah just overpowers him through sheer dominance, establishing the three-headed monster as the alpha. The environmental destruction is insane, with their battle creating storm systems and leaving trails of devastation. This wasn't just a fight, it was a display of nature's fury personified, with humans being completely irrelevant to the outcome. The fact that this was essentially a side battle in a movie packed with monster fights shows how ambitious King of the Monsters was in delivering kaiju action.
It's Admiral Sten.
DreamWorks' Monsters vs. Aliens was basically a love letter to 1950s creature features, and the Golden Gate Bridge battle between the newly giant Susan and the alien robot is pure Saturday morning cartoon energy done with blockbuster quality. Susan has just been hit by a radioactive meteorite that turned her into a 50-foot woman, and her first real test as a monster is defending San Francisco from this massive alien probe. What makes this fight fun is Susan's inexperience. She's literally figuring out her powers mid-battle, using her size creatively, but also making mistakes that feel human and relatable. The setting is iconic, with the Golden Gate Bridge providing this perfect arena for giant monster action while also creating stakes with all the trapped civilians. The supporting monster team adds comedic relief while actually contributing to the fight, making it feel like a team effort. The animation is vibrant and expressive, with DreamWorks' signature style making everything pop visually. When Insectosaurus arrives at the climax and reveals its butterfly transformation, it's this wonderful callback to classic kaiju team-ups. The film doesn't take itself too seriously either, embracing the absurdity of its premise while delivering genuinely exciting action that kids and adults could both enjoy. It proved animated giant monster fights could hang with the live-action blockbusters. Duncan Jones's Warcraft had its flaws, but the Magora duel between Durotan and Gul'dan is a brutal display of orc combat that showcases incredible motion capture technology. This isn't a giant monster fight in the traditional sense, but these orcs are massive, muscular creatures fighting with medieval weapons, and the weight behind every blow is palpable. Durotan challenges Gul'dan to a duel of honor, expecting a fair fight, but Gul'dan literally sucks the life out of him using magic. revealing himself as a dishonorable warlock. What makes this scene powerful is the cultural context. Ghidorah is sacred to orc tradition, and Gul'dan's violation of it turns even his own followers against him momentarily.
Buddhas! You have no honor.
The motion capture work by Toby Kebbell and Daniel Wu brings real humanity to these CG characters, making you forget you're watching digital creations. The choreography is visceral and grounded despite the fantasy setting, with each warrior's fighting style reflecting their character. Durotan fights with honor and strength, while Gul'dan uses dark magic and deception. The rain-soaked battlefield and the watching crowd create this gladiatorial atmosphere that heightens the drama. When Durotan falls and his son Thrall becomes an orphan, it creates emotional stakes that resonate beyond the immediate violence. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen had a troubled production, but the transformation of Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde to fight Dante is a standout moment of gothic monster mayhem. Hyde is portrayed as this absolutely massive brute. I mean, think the Hulk, but in Victorian London, and his emergence in the streets of Venice to battle Dante is pure comic book chaos. The practical and CGI effects blend to create Hyde as this hulking, deformed beast that's all muscle and rage. The fight takes place across Venetian rooftops and narrow streets, creating this claustrophobic atmosphere where two monsters are smashing through centuries-old architecture. What's memorable is the physicality of the fight. Hyde isn't elegant or skilled, he just grabs Dante and uses brute force to smash him through buildings. The period setting adds flavour to what could have been a generic monster brawl, with the contrast between Victorian elegance and savage violence creating visual interest. Jason Fleming's motion capture performance gives Hyde personality beyond just being a mindless brute, capturing his barely contained rage. The fight ends with Hyde's victory, establishing him as the team's heavy hitter, proving that sometimes you need a monster to fight a monster. While the film itself became a cult curiosity rather than a blockbuster, this sequence showcased the potential of the source material's premise.
What is that thing? It's me on a bad day.
The Golden Compass may have disappointed as a franchise starter, but the armoured bear duel between Eirik Byronsson and Ragnar Sturluson is legitimately one of the best creature fights ever put to film. These aren't just bears, they're intelligent warrior bears who wear custom armor and fight with strategy and honor. The duel takes place in the frozen north with the Bear Kingdom watching, making it feel like a gladiatorial combat with political stakes. What makes this fight special is the choreography. These bears fight like actual bears, using their weight, their jaws, their claws, but with the added intelligence of trained warriors. Eirik, who's been without his armor, uses cunning and experience to outmaneuver the larger armored Ragnar. The sound design is crucial here, with every impact of metal on ice, every roar, every claw scrape creating this visceral soundscape. The moment Eirik tricks Ragnar into attacking, causing his armor to leave an opening and then delivers the killing blow to the jaw, is both strategic and savage. The CGI work on the bear is phenomenal, with their fur, expressions and movements all feeling completely real despite the fantastical premise. This fight honoured its source material from Philip Pullman's novel while expanding it visually in ways that only cinema could achieve. It remains a high watermark for animal-based creature combat. The battle between Gypsy Danger and Otachi is Pacific Rim at its absolute best. A multi-stage fight that keeps escalating in spectacular fashion. Otachi is one of the most memorable kaiju designs. This dragon-like creature with acid spit, wings, and a prehensile tail, making it a nightmare to fight. The battle starts on the docks and crashes through Hong Kong's neon-lit streets, creating this stunning visual contrast between the vibrant city and the destructive combat. What makes this fight legendary is how it keeps evolving. First, it's a straightforward brawl. Then Otachi reveals it can fly and drags Gypsy into the stratosphere, turning it into an aerial battle. And finally, both plummet back to Earth for the finishing moves. Del Toro's attention to detail shines in every frame. The way the water cascades off the Jaeger, the sparks from damaged systems, the panicked civilians fleeing, all creating this immersive environment. The sword moment has become iconic. Rally asking why they didn't use it sooner, getting a deadpan "we needed this moment" response, and then the blade igniting in vibrant blue before slicing through Otachi. The kill shot, sword through the throat and brain, is beautifully brutal. This fight perfectly balanced spectacle with character moments, giving the pilots personality and stakes while delivering the giant robot versus monster action the audiences craved. It's the gold standard for Jaeger combat in the franchise. The Heisei era finale pitted a dying, radioactive Godzilla against Destroyer, and it's one of the most emotionally devastating monster fights ever. This isn't just a battle, it's Godzilla's last stand as his nuclear heart goes into meltdown, threatening to destroy the entire planet. Destroyer is horrifying, a demonic-looking creature born from the oxygen destroyer that killed the original Godzilla, with multiple forms and this sadistic personality. The Tokyo battle is apocalyptic in scale, with Godzilla glowing red from internal radiation, literally melting everything around him just by existing. What makes this fight tragic is Godzilla Jr.'s involvement. The young Godzilla tries to help his father but gets killed by Destroyer in a heartbreaking moment that sends burning Godzilla into a berserker rage. The fight choreography emphasizes Godzilla's declining strength even as his power increases uncontrollably. Destroyer's various abilities, variable ray slicer, micro-oxygen beam, his horn that can slice through Godzilla's hide, make him a legitimately dangerous opponent. The military's involvement trying to weaken Godzilla while he fights Destroyer adds chaos to the battle. The ending, where Godzilla's meltdown actually revives Junior as a new Godzilla, is bittersweet, providing hope even as the original king falls. This fight represented the end of an era for the franchise and delivered emotional weight rarely seen in kaiju films. It proved that giant monster fights could make audiences cry while still delivering spectacular destruction. DreamWorks delivered something genuinely epic with the Alpha Dragon battle in How to Train Your Dragon 2. These bewilder beasts are absolutely colossal, mountain-sized dragons that can control other dragons through their alpha status. The fight between Valkar's peaceful white bewilderbeast and Drago's battle-scarred black one is as much a philosophical conflict as a physical one, representing two approaches to living with dragons. The scale is breathtaking, with these creatures being so massive that their movements reshape the environment. Their primary weapons are their ice breath, creating massive frozen structures that they use both defensively and offensively. The choreography is slower and more deliberate than typical dragon fights, emphasizing the weight and power of each action. The moment Drago's bewilderbeast proves dominant and forces Valkar's to submit is genuinely shocking, subverting expectations that the hero's alpha would win. The animation is stunning, with ice particles, water effects, and the textured detail on these massive creatures, all contributing to the visual majesty. This fight showed that animated films could deliver giant monster battles that matched anything in live action while maintaining the emotional depth and character development that made the franchise special. The neon-soaked Hong Kong showdown between Godzilla and Kong is what every kaiju fan dreams about. Two iconic titans going absolutely all out in a major city with zero holds barred. After building tension throughout the film, this is where the Monsterverse delivered the main event, and it exceeded expectations. Kong arrives with his new axe, which can absorb Godzilla's atomic energy, creating this awesome dynamic where Kong can actually counter Godzilla's main weapon. The fight choreography is incredible. Kong uses his agility and intelligence to outmaneuver the larger Godzilla, swinging between buildings, using construction equipment as weapons, and showing tactical thinking. Godzilla fights with ruthless efficiency, his atomic breath carving through skyscrapers like butter, creating these stunning visual moments where Hong Kong lights up in nuclear blue. The addition of Mechagodzilla later creates this amazing twist where the two former enemies have to team up, but before that, their one-on-one is brutal and personal. Kong gets slammed through buildings, Godzilla gets hit with his own absorbed energy, and the destruction is off the charts. What makes this work is the kinetic camera work that follows the action without becoming incomprehensible. And the way the film treats both creatures with respect. Neither's the villain here, they're both just territorial apex predators. The final shot of them acknowledging each other before Kong returns to Hollow Earth feels earned. This fight justified the 4-year wait and delivered on decades of fan dreams. The finale of Kong Skull Island, where Kong faces the Skull Devil, the alpha skull crawler, is raw, savage, and emotional. This isn't sophisticated combat, this is primal rage and survival. The Skullcrawler is genuinely disturbing. This serpentine reptile with vestigial arms and an oversized skull full of teeth representing everything wrong with Skull Island's ecosystem. Kong fights with desperate fury, using everything as a weapon. Chains, a propeller blade, his fists, and even his environment. What makes this fight resonate is the personal stakes. This creature represents Kong's tragic origin, and you can see in his expressions and movements that it's deeply personal. Kong gets his arm swallowed at one point, forcing him to improvise and rip the creature apart from the inside, which is both creative and horrifically brutal. The kill, Kong tearing the Skullcrawler's tongue and organs out through its mouth, is unflinchingly savage. Jordan Vogt-Roberts' direction captures Kong's intelligence and emotion while never making him seem tame or friendly. This fight established that the monster vs. Kong was a legitimate titan worthy of eventually facing Godzilla, while giving audiences a complete character arc in a single film. Going old school with one of the most important kaiju fights ever filmed. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, basically invented the team-up formula that the genre still uses today. This was the fight that established Ghidorah as Godzilla's ultimate rival and created the Earth monsters unite against aliens threat trope. What makes this battle legendary is its historical context. Audiences had only seen these monsters as solo threats, and seeing Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra working together was revolutionary. The fight takes place on Mount Fuji's slopes, giving it this epic backdrop that emphasizes the mythological scale. The choreography is surprisingly dynamic given the suit and puppet limitations of 1964. Ghidorah's gravity beams attack from multiple angles, while Rodan provides air support and Mothra uses her silk to entangle the golden dragon. Godzilla serves as the heavy hitter, using his atomic breath and physical strength. The practical effects and miniature work are stunning, with pyrotechnics, wirework, and careful compositing creating action that still holds up 60 years later. This fight set the template for nearly every crossover battle that followed, proving that sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's arguably the most influential giant monster fight ever filmed, establishing narrative and visual conventions that Hollywood is still copying today in the Monsterverse and beyond. Peter Jackson's King Kong remake delivered what many consider the greatest giant monster fight ever captured on film. Kong battling 3 V-Rexes while simultaneously protecting Ann Darrow. This sequence is non-stop action that keeps escalating impossibly. The choreography is absolutely insane, starting in the jungle and moving off to the cliff faces, where Kong is literally juggling Ann while fighting 3 massive predators. Jackson's direction keeps everything coherent despite the chaos, with clear geography and spatial relationships even as Kong, Ann, and the VR trio tumble down vines and cliffs. Kong's fighting style shows his intelligence. He uses the environment, adapts tactics mid-fight, and even uses the dinosaurs against each other. The vine sequence where they're all tangled together is breathtaking, with multiple predators snapping at Ann while Kong desperately repositions to keep her safe. Kong showcases personality in every movement. You can see him thinking, planning, and expressing emotions through body language. The kills are brutal and creative, with Kong breaking jaws, snapping necks, and ultimately delivering that famous jaw-ripping finish to the Alpha V-Rex. The sound design, James Newton Howard's score, and the weight given to every impact makes this feel less like CG and more like watching real giants battle. This fight represents everything giant monster cinema should aspire to: spectacular action, emotional investment, technical perfection, and pure cinematic magic. It's been 2 decades and nothing has topped it. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you'll enjoy.